Alright, so coming in at number 5 is Bunker Buster. Bunker Buster is probably the best example of a mission that is carried by music. I don't think this mission is really all that good besides the music. There's nothing super special about it. It's actually kind of a tedious and boring mission. Even Namco knows this, as each trailer since the game's released, I'm pretty sure, besides the DLC missions trailer, has used this song. The dialogue in the mission can be pretty bad, admittedly. Count is very annoying, as usual, but thankfully, your teammates do point that out throughout the entirety of the mission. Um, so it's not too bad. Besides that, the nukes, or the silos, being randomized is really the only special thing that this mission will give you different in each playthrough. The turbulence can be awful to deal with in that certain area, but it's overall not the worst mission ever. In fact, I put it at number 5 of the top 5 best missions, so I shouldn't be complaining that much. But it's one of the better missions in the game. The second part is chasing down the IRBMs that are launched, and it's alright. I do admit it's pretty cool seeing the IRBMs explode, and it's probably what the MPBM should have been. I think we can all agree on that. Maybe bigger, I don't know. So, again, it's not a bad mission. It's a good mission, but only because of the music and because the gameplay can be fun at times. But mostly because of the music. And it's one of the few missions where the F-15 is probably the best aircraft to choose for the mission. So, yeah. The mission Bunker Buster comes in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is Cape Rennie Assault. It's an okay mission. It's pretty good. The attacking the base thing is surprisingly fun, and there are a lot of chaotic things going on, a lot of explosions, a lot of gunfire. For a small battle, it feels really big, and there's a lot of explosions and stuff. It's a pretty fun mission. A lot gets thrown at you, but it doesn't feel too spammy because you can deal with things before they get out of hand. You don't get completely attacked and overwhelmed immediately. You can deal with problems before they happen. And as for the canyon run, I don't really get the whole trying to be friendly to new players thing, because even I've had problems with this campaign or with this canyon run in the past. It's given me some trouble. I've been alright with doing it recently, but it's surprisingly difficult, and, well, it can be anyway. But the problem is, it takes a while to get to the base, and it gets tedious to go through this canyon when you fail once. Besides that, the rest of the mission is pretty fun. The dialogue is, again, counts there, so it kind of ruins a lot of the dialogue, but again, overall, it's a pretty good mission.
Attention, all defensive and air support teams. In order to get up and running, what I need
one of the most intense missions in the game that I didn't used to give a lot of appreciation for. Well, it's not the best, obviously. There's 2 more ahead of it. It's pretty fun, and admittedly the onslaught can be seriously fun. One of the reasons this mission really shines is not only is, it's fun to take out all these ground enemies, and it's actually a pretty good challenge. Your friendlies, to an extent, do their job. Since pretty much everything is on you to take out all the ground forces, your friendlies surprisingly take out pretty much every air force or every enemy plane they can while you're taking out the ground forces. I don't think they can take out bomber escorts, and they definitely don't take out bomber like the A-10s, but they'll take on the enemy fighters and the F-117As, and that's really helpful. And I haven't mentioned the music, but pretty much none of the missions on this list contain the main theme. And that's because the main theme is tedious. I forgot to talk about the music. And pretty much every song that doesn't have the main theme in it, it's pretty good. I didn't give this soundtrack a lot of credit, and admittedly, it's still not a great soundtrack. But actually, no, I think I take that back. I have given this soundtrack crap in the past, and admittedly, songs like Charge the Enemy aren't very good. At least they aren't very... They don't stand out. But I'm willing to retract my statements on this soundtrack. Really, the only problem with this soundtrack, again, to an extent, it's not the only problem, but a big problem with this soundtrack is how just reused the main theme is. And this, I used to think wasn't a very good song, or it was a bad remix, but I've changed my mind on that. This song is actually pretty good and has good tonal shifts in certain points. It lets you not only feel the intensity or the dreadfulness of the battle going on, but there are also points of happiness and hope that the soldiers would be feeling once you saved them. And not to mention that this mission does get pretty dark if you don't help the ground forces. They will all be killed. And the dialogue is really, well, it's not the best dialogue. It's not on Modern Warfare 2 levels, but it's still pretty good dialogue. I gotta give credit to it. You can check out my What Happens If You Don't Defend Stonehenge video to see more of that. But besides that, this part of the mission is really good, and it's really fun. A lot of air-to-air, a lot of air-to-ground, a lot of fun ways to play. It's very strategic too. You can focus on different things, although admittedly, if you don't just focus on the ground targets, there is a good chance of you failing. So you do have to focus on the ground targets, but there are different strategies you can use. But again, if you could just choose what your AI did, it would not be a bad mission. If you could strategize with that, if you could tell your AI to focus on the ground or focus on the air, or literally do anything but just attack air-to-air or just stand there like idiots in missions, it would be good. Now, the reason this is number 3 is because of this part of the mission. This, honestly, is the whole reason this mission is at number 3 and not number 2. Although, I would say the mission at number 2 is deserving of it on principle. This part is so reminiscent of Ace Combat 6, and such a big reason I was worried for 7 before it even released. This game, and especially this part of the game, has so much enemy spam and missile spam and gun spam. It is ridiculous. I play, and people have noticed this, I play with the fire extinguisher because of things like this. It just makes this mission so unfair if you don't have the fire extinguisher. You're constantly getting hit, you're constantly taking damage. And the AAMs don't... They pull ridiculous maneuvers. They aren't like the ship AAMs where they're going to miss you. Instead, they go up and around like the AAMs from the ships do. Except, or the VLS, I guess is what it is. Except they turn around and they do a full arc. They don't drop off at the end of their arc, the top of their arc. But It's just ridiculous. And I've heard people say the IWS can help. First of all, not a good excuse, because the IWS is a DLC plane, and personally, I've never been helped by it. So, say what you want. This is the sole reason I hate this part. I hate this part of this mission. If it was gone from this mission, it would be a better mission without it. But hey, at least it's fun to take out the ground troops because it's not Ace Combat 4. Alright, I think we know what needs to be number 2. This mission. Now, again, this mission, and I'll talk about it later, but this mission is good. Because it's an air-to-air mission, and that's what Ace Combat 7 probably should have been focused on, or at least should have had more of. This mission's air-to-air combat is the sole reason I play this mission at all. It's Ace Combat 7, including this mission, seems to lack any form of pure air-to-air engagement. Ace Combat 5 had it, Ace Combat 4 had it, Ace Combat 0 had it, especially Ace Combat 0. That game probably had the best air-to-air engagement. No, actually it was Kimona. It was Shattered Skies, because that mission, you didn't destroy every single enemy fighter and then just have to kill spawning enemies. So, no, 4 did it better, 0 did it pretty good, 5 did it really good. On par with 0, but this mission, the fact that it brings in drone followers kind of ruins the dogfighting. It's not as fun taking on drone aircraft because they really, really suck. Even worse than the normal pilots. And most of the aircraft here take 3 hits, but yeah, and one Aces in particular is stupidly placed. But besides that, this part of the mission, again, the whole reason this mission is not first. In fact, this mission would be first if it wasn't for this part of the mission. If this was an entirely separate mission, this would be number 1 on the list. Now, when it comes to enemy spam, it still has enemy spam, but it's not hard to deal with. The MQ-101s don't really do a lot of damage here. In fact, they're quite weak. They fly in what seems like a scripted path, which I wouldn't be surprised. It says Combat 7, everything's scripted. But the Arsenal Bird does not fire at you. I don't even know if the laser can hit you. Well, I know the pulse lasers can near the end, but there's just so much enemies. And one of the problems is that it stresses you out dealing with this many enemies, because once you know you're probably supposed to take all of them out, it can be stressful. It's just, and the Arsenal Bird doesn't even put up a fight. Once you take out all the enemy planes, it doesn't even put up a fight. And it's not fun to take out. It's a bullet sponge. It's not fun, but the first part of the mission is good despite the drones, and overall, it's number 2. And, well, yeah. So, this is number 2 on the list. Before we go into number 1, I would like to give a couple of honorable mentions, specifically to Fleet Destruction and Farbanty. Not the honorable mentions as in like they could have been on the list, but as in I know people like them. I hate those 2 missions. Well, I don't hate Fleet Destruction. The problem with those 2 missions is they're stressful. You don't have enough time to do everything. Specifically Farbanty, which is probably the worst designed mission in the game, where hundreds of enemies appear in the last, 30 or 3 minutes. So, those missions are too stressful, too short, too many enemy spams. So, besides that, those missions just aren't good enough to make the list. So besides that, I probably put Lost Kingdom on an honorable mention because it can be fun. But let's move on to number 1. I think you know what it would be. Coming in at number 1, and I don't think anybody is surprised by this if they know me, Long Day. Long Day is probably the best mission. No, it is the best mission in Ace Combat 7. Long Day has a very special taste to it. It's beautifully designed, has a great soundtrack, has phenomenal character interactions, multiple areas to blow up. Did I mention that Ace Combat 7's ground attacking can be really, really fun and satisfying? Yeah. And what seems like enemy spam at first isn't too bad except for in a couple places. There are plenty of enemies. Thing is, there's not. There's a lot of destructible targets. There are a lot of AA guns packed tightly in some areas, but they're not too big of a problem to deal with, especially if you bring bombs. That's another thing. This mission can be done with pretty much any plane you'd like. Any strategy will work, and it's fun. It's just plain old Ace Combat fun. I mean, this, and not to mention, Long Day is a score attack mission. You have 15 minutes to destroy everything. The thing is, it's not stressful. If you play this mission after the first time you play it, it does seem like it's going to take a lot. But it doesn't. It's just plain fun. It's one of the most replayable missions in the game because of it. When I come to this mission, I just love it. I get so immersed in the gameplay. And it's like the mission that builds your reputation almost. In fact, it might be. What's beautiful about this mission is the air-to-air and air-to-ground combination. There's so much combination when it comes to that. There's a lot of air-to-ground, but once you get to the end of the mission, assuming you've done it right, or at least the way I usually do it, you'll have plenty of air-to-air. Yeah, most of them are drones, but there's some air-to-air against actual humans, and it's just fun. Flying into the tunnel, doing everything in this mission is just a plain blast. If you don't like this mission, I honestly couldn't understand why. If you don't like this mission, please explain why, because I really don't understand if there's anything bad to say about this mission besides maybe the drones. But watching everything burn after you destroy it is just phenomenal. This mission in Ace Combat 4 would be a nightmare, but in Ace Combat 7, I will give credit. The air-to-ground gameplay is really satisfying. In this mission. And most missions. When enemies are spread out, it doesn't really work, but in this mission, it works, because all the enemies are compacted tightly. And, as I said, the character interactions are phenomenal. Count is pretty much stealing all your glory the whole time, or at least trying to. Nobody's buying it. Bandog and Tabloid and Champ, and pretty much everybody are calling him out. It's quite great, because I will take any Count hate any day, because Count is the worst character in Ace Combat history. But Bandog is great in this mission. High Roller dies. I think everybody knows that. And yeah, he's Steve Blum, but he's really annoying, so I'm okay with it. Most of the prisoner characters are annoying stereotypes of some thing, of some archetype or whatever. But there's no McKinsey in this mission. This mission is probably the absolute worst when it comes to... I'm going to be flat out honest. This mission is the worst when it comes to friendly AI. It's dreadful how terrible it is. And I gotta admit, they just fly around in circles in certain parts of the map. I think Tablet and Count follow you. Maybe? It's not really clear. I think they just go to the area where all the drones are. But that's a problem this game has pretty much in almost every mission. minus a few. Yeah, it's not forgivable, but I can look past it for this mission because the gameplay is so fun. I mean, you can see I'm using the SU-47. I could have used the A-10 and still had a blast on this mission. Although I did notice this game seems to hate the A-10. It doesn't give it any good missions to use it on, despite this game being very heavy air-to-ground. It's a lot of multi-role missions, but not even the multi-role aircraft are that great. So, yeah, this is my top 5 list. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm downloading the Modern Warfare beta as we speak. I'm gonna probably stream that if I can. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed the video. This is my best shot at a top 5. So, well, I've done a top 5 before this. I've done a couple top 5s, but I think this turned out well. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay frosty, and the price is right. Good night, everybody.